Right. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us for another WKS Zoom podcast interview. This time I'm with Nigel. I think it's Lowndes. Lowndes.
You've got it.
Right.
Lowndes. Rhymes with
Lowndes.
sounds.
Right. And you go by Nigel G. Lowndes. Is that right?
I I do, yes. Yeah.
Brilliant. Superb. Do you want to sort of start us off by sort of, giving us a bit of info about where you started with music then?
I've always been interested in music as a kid. Growing up in the 70s and 80s was a fantastic time for music for me. And, I loved watching Top of the Pops and listening to the radio. I was, transfixed by music in lots of forms. I then became a choir boy at the local church and enjoyed that, the singing side of that, and what that brought. And then in sort of my late teens, I started to find that I was writing songs in my head,
Mhm.
and I thought, perhaps I should pick up an instrument and try and do something. So I got a synthesizer and started writing songs, and then I joined a few bands in my early 20s. Good experience, but didn't really go anywhere.
Right.
And then and then I settled down a little bit to family life and working. And then I sort of got to the ripe old age of 50, and I'd been messing about, in between times and thinking, hmm, I've still got this itch I haven't scratched. Perhaps
Yeah.
I should try a bit harder. So yeah, I really tried hard, and here I am a few years later, having been a lot more comfortable doing gigs and having recorded an album. So yeah,
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And judging by the picture I'm seeing, you're obviously multi-instrumentalist. You play a lot of instruments then.
I get by, put it that way. I
Okay.
do a lot. I do a lot of takes when I'm recording, but yeah, my main instrument is guitar, which I play live. So
Right.
that's what I default to. But yeah, I turn my hand to most things, and yeah, it's good to have a little studio that I've got to be able to record things, and some of the stuff on the album was actually recorded here,
Right.
as well as but a lot of it was recorded in Saltwell Studios with the producer Chris Pepper.
Okay.
So
Brilliant.
he put the professional sheen to it all.
Right. Right. What's the name of the album then?
The name of the album is Hello Mystery. I
Oh,
just move and get a copy.
okay.
Should have had it better to hand. So I put it on CD. Um,
Beauty.
So that's the CD version, but obviously it's streaming everywhere as you do these days.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
and yeah, and the reason
okay.
it's called Hello Mystery is that it's still a mystery to me how I'm able to write songs. It's a wonderful gift,
Mm.
and but still, a magical thing, a mystery, and
It's
that's
funny
why
because one of the questions I was going to ask you was, what is your songwriting process? How does it work for you?
I. These days, well, when I started off, when I had my keyboard first of all, most of the time I would make up a tune on that, make up some chords, and then sing over the top of it, sort of improvise a lot, do a lot of improvisation. Um, but these days, mostly I start by having an idea for a title or a line in the song, and then writing out some lyrics. In a particular way. Sometimes I will then do what I call ghosting,
Mm.
where I'll think, oh, these words they're a bit like a Johnny Cash song words. So, and what sort of Johnny Cash song would they be?
Mm.
So I sort of have that in my mind, and then that sometimes gives me a sort of meter to fit the words in, and then an idea about how the music might come for that and the melodies.
Right.
So that's often the way I'll do some things. But sometimes I'm in the shower, doing some mundane task, and a melody and a few lines will come to me just out of the blue,
Mm.
and then I'll quickly record that in my phone and build on that side of things.
Right. So
So
would you
I,
say then? Would you say then that you you know, your songwriting is almost like storytelling, or are you a bit more sort of abstract?
I'm more on the storytelling side.
Okay.
I like to tell the tale from beginning to end. But I've learned recently that you don't have to do that.
Mm.
Sometimes it's more interesting to tell part of a tale and let the listener make up their own conclusions or read between the lines. So
Mm.
I sometimes do that. And sometimes I do things which are a bit abstract as well, that unless you knew exactly what was going through my head, you wouldn't necessarily be able to work it out. I think Shoes on my album is one of those songs that
Mm.
people think, what the hell is he going on about there, sort of
Yeah,
thing. But
yeah, yeah.
there is a very specific meaning to that song.
Okay.
So, and sometimes songs can be metaphors for other things as well. So, but
Right.
yeah, I like the storytelling element, and that's why I like country music so much. Although the sort of genres of my music sort of vary from rock, blues, country, a little bit of jazz, a bit of alt pop, alt
Okay.
rock. So it's whatever ever suits the song. I'm
Superb.
not wedded to any particular genre.
Mm. So whereabouts have you sort of performed then live?
Mostly around the Bristol. I live in Bristol. It's mostly around the Bristol area. There's very lucky that there's so many different venues you can perform at in
Mm.
Bristol.
Mm.
Um, so most of them sort of pub type venues and things.
Yeah.
Some local festivals. That's been really nice in the summer to perform at those.
Brilliant.
So
Is the Thekla still going, is it?
it is, yes. I think it had a
Wow.
refit a couple of years ago. So yeah,
Okay.
there's some fantastic venues, big and
Mm.
small in Bristol. We're really very fortunate, and but I had a gig in a new venue in Bath a couple of years ago, supporting an American band that come over called Ravis Cole, and this was really nice because they were doing a little tour around the area, and then their big gig was at this new venue that had been set up for music, and the day of the gig, I got a message saying the venue's closed down.
Oh
So
no.
you
No.
know, it's not not all venues survive.
Yes. Yeah. So how have you fared musically during the lockdowns then?
Well, it's for me it's not been too bad in a way, because I at the tail end of 2019, um, I'd already decided that I was going to produce an album, because during 2019, so I decided at the tail end of 2019 I was going to do an album. I'd sort of had it in my mind, but I got to the point where I thought, I've got strong enough songs now to put on an album that I feel
Mm.
comfortable with. During 2019, I'd been part of a songwriting group that was writing a song a week. So I'd written 52 songs in
Wow.
2019 that I'd recorded. Just do a quick guitar recording of. So I had a lot to pick from, plus stuff from before then. So I thought, I think I could put a strong album together now and really do myself justice. And I'd already recorded one track with Chris Pepper in Saltwell Studios as a tryout sort of thing, and that went really well. So I contacted Chris and I said, can we do this? And he said, yeah, yeah. And the original plan was to go to his studio for a few days and do all the recording, but lockdown hit,
Mm.
so we ended up doing it remotely, and so that's what I spent most of 2020 doing, is actually
Right.
demoing to um, a fully finished, fully arranged band bass sort of demo, and then backwards and forwards with Chris, where he, as a producer, suggest what I perhaps needed to change and things, and then he'd take those finished demos, use what was right. He had to re-record drums and things, and do the normal record the rhythm first of all. So some of it was re-recorded as a necessity,
Mm.
and then yeah, it got all put together at the end of last year. So apart from
Mm.
unfortunately not being able to gig, which is um, yeah, very very sad for any musician who
Yes.
regularly
Yeah.
gets out
Yeah.
there. Um, I was sort of fully occupied doing the album, so it sort of worked for me. But I
Right.
didn't really write any many songs, if I'm honest.
Mm.
Didn't I didn't feel particularly stimulated by lockdown.
No, fair play. Yeah, I think there's been a lot of people I've spoken to. It's a very mixed bag. It's either it's been such a musically very negative experience for them, or there's been quite a few that go extreme positive that gave them the time to
Mm,
concentrate. Which
yeah,
good things come out of things. It's one of those things, isn't it? Really.
yeah, yeah. Well, it
So
certainly gave me time to concentrate on the album,
yeah,
so I'm I'm,
yeah,
I'm grateful for it from that perspective. But
brilliant.
still, yes, a very very sad time.
Yes. What what other musicians do you admire then?
Many many and varied. So more recently, it's been people like John Prine, Jason Isabel, Robert Vincent, um, and a lot of old favourites, the Paul McCartneys, Bob Dylan's, Rolling Stones,
Mm,
Bruce Springsteen. It's that sort of, but also some of the new wave type stuff, Elvis Costello, Blondie,
right,
and
fantastic.
it's a very much a mix of influences, and I'm very lucky that I sort of managed to mix them all, blend them all together in some way that I think makes sense. Well, it makes
Yeah,
sense to me anyway.
yeah,
It's up to everyone else whether it makes sense, but
brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah. So, what's next then? What are your plans when we come out of this? Well, we are coming out of this lockdown, I suppose. So, what are your plans?
Well, I'm promoting singles as you do with an album, so there's a few more of those to go, sort of each month, and I'll be doing gigs. I'm trying to line up a few sort of locally and stuff, but also one of the things that I am really thinking of trying to get together is a band, because it was a band album, and I think it would do it more justice if we can have a full band behind me,
Mm, mm,
and it opens up the sort of gigs you can do as well a little bit more as well.
right,
So yeah,
fantastic.
that'll be what I'll be looking to do. But when the right time to get people together and rehearses and things, I
Yeah.
suppose that's coming up sooner. But yeah, I can't jump on that just yet. I don't think. But yeah,
No,
that's
no.
that's the
Yeah.
plan,
Fair play.
and see if I can get as many people as possible to hear me.
Yeah, no, fair play. So let's sort of think about, what's the best bit of advice that you've been given, you know.
um, I think I think it's stay grounded. Basically,
Okay.
I'm lucky. I've got a day job and things, so I'm self sufficient. But sort of my heart goes out to a lot of other musicians who are really trying to make it, because it's very tough out there.
Mm,
There's a lot of fantastic musicians, and it's really tough for them to make a living and get their music heard.
right. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, try and stay grounded as possible. Everyone needs to dream. Everyone's got you've got to have a bit of an ego to be a musician, I think.
Hmm.
And I try my hardest, and I've had some nice things happen to me, and I'm enjoying the adventure. So
Right. So what would you say is the sort of the best thing about being a music artist then? What is it that ignites you then?
I think it's performing songs to people and getting feedback.
Right. Yeah.
That's one of the best things. And um, and working with other people. I'm usually quite self-sufficient as an individual,
Mm,
but one of the things that I've learned with making music is that I've always gone further if I've worked with other people.
right.
uh, while
Mm,
either writing songs, just being interested in what other artists are doing, or indeed, the recording of this album.
Mm.
There's a number of people I've um, thanked for being part of it, and they've helped me make it even better. So
Mm.
that's if you can find some people that are on the same wavelength as you, then it can work really well.
Yeah, superb, actually. Yeah. Okay, final question I ask everybody, and it sort of leads on to what you were just sort of saying there. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for you being here musically now?
Probably my wife for putting up with me making a noise a lot around the house. She's had to bear, and my son for that matter. So yeah, they've had to bear the brunt of it. But I think Chris Pepper's probably the person who's I've got to thank the most recently, because he really did take my album to another level and make it all pull it all together and guide me in the right direction. I think also I went on some songwriting workshops a couple of years ago. Well, I've been to three now, one each year, with Boo Hewardine and Darwin Smith, and they were really encouraging. And I met lots of other songwriters there, and I think a lot of where I am now has grown from that point. And I'd recommend anyone who's interested in songwriting, whatever their level is, to find some workshops, courses to go on, because you never know what might spring from it. And
Mm.
I learned a lot. I'm still learning a lot. So
Yeah,
yeah, but
fantastic.
lots, and all those people on the album, they're fantastic, giving up their time to help me put it together. So
Mm.
yeah, thank you to them.
Lovely. Brilliant. Nigel, look, thanks so much for the time and
Thank
giving me
you.
the interview, and good luck with everything.
Thanks a lot, and good luck with your podcast. You getting
Thank you
some
very
good people
much.
on.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.